More than 50 million unused dollars will soon be put to good use at Hoover Dam thanks to new legislation championed by Nevada lawmakers.
Right now, deep inside one of the most powerful structures ever built, something is going wrong. Not on the surface, not where tourists take photos, but inside the concrete, where no one is supposed to see it. A crack, not a tiny surface fracture, not cosmetic damage. A structural fissure, growing, and at one point, expanding faster than engineers are comfortable with. Inside Hoover Dam, sensors constantly monitor pressure, vibration, and stress, every second of every day. Most of the time, those readings are predictable, routine, stable, controlled. But sometimes, something unusual shows up, and when it does, it sets off alarms, quiet ones at first. Data gets flagged automatically. Engineers receive alerts. Teams begin reviewing patterns. Because when you're dealing with a structure holding back one of the largest reservoirs in the United States, there is no such thing as a small anomaly. Every signal matters. Every deviation gets attention. So what's really happening inside Hoover Dam? And why are experts paying such close attention to even the smallest changes? To understand that, you need to understand what Hoover Dam actually is. This isn't just a wall of concrete. It's an arch-gravity dam, a design that uses both weight and shape to resist unimaginable pressure. The massive force from Lake Mead isn't just pushing straight against the structure. It's being redirected, outward into the canyon walls and downward into the foundation. That design is the reason Hoover Dam has stood strong for nearly a century. It's incredibly efficient, incredibly resilient, but it also means something critical. If stress builds in unexpected ways, the entire system responds. Now here's where things get even more interesting. Hoover Dam wasn't poured as one solid block. It's made up of massive interlocking concrete sections called monoliths. Each section was carefully poured, cooled, and connected. And over time, each one moves, slightly. That movement is normal. Concrete expands and contracts with temperature. It responds to pressure changes. It adjusts to environmental conditions. Engineers expect this. They design for it. And most importantly, they monitor it constantly. But what they don't expect is movement that behaves outside predicted patterns. Over the years, inspections have recorded tiny changes, hairline separations, microscopic shifts, subtle stress redistributions, nothing immediately dangerous, just part of a massive structure aging under constant load. But sometimes, small patterns start to tell a bigger story. Because Hoover Dam doesn't exist in isolation. It's anchored into Black Canyon, a region shaped by millions of years of geological forces. The surrounding rock is strong, made of volcanic formations like andesite and rhyolite. But it's not perfectly stable. No geological formation ever is. The entire region lies within the Basin and Range Province, an area where the Earth's crust is slowly stretching apart. You won't feel it, you won't see it, but it's happening. And over decades, even millimeters of movement can matter. Small seismic events, too weak for people to notice, occur regularly in this region. They don't cause damage, but instruments detect them, and engineers track every single one. Because if the ground shifts, even slightly, the structure above responds. Now add another factor into the equation. Time. Concrete is strong, but it's not frozen in time. Over decades, its internal structure changes. Chemical processes continue long after construction ends. One of the most studied is alkali-silica reaction, a slow chemical process that can cause internal expansion in certain types of concrete. It doesn't happen everywhere. It doesn't happen quickly. But when it does happen, it builds pressure from the inside out. And when internal pressure meets external force, that's when cracks can begin to form. Now, This is critical to understand. A crack in a dam does not mean collapse is imminent, not even remotely. Large dams like Hoover are designed with multiple layers of safety, redundancies, reinforcements, backup systems, and perhaps most importantly, constant monitoring. Hoover Dam is one of the most closely observed structures in the world. Engineers don't wait for failure. They look for early warning signs. If something changes, even slightly, they investigate immediately, and if needed, they act. One common method is high-pressure injection. Special materials are forced into cracks to stabilize and seal them. Another is structural anchoring. Massive steel supports are installed to reinforce stressed sections and redistribute loads. These aren't experimental solutions. They've been used successfully in major infrastructure projects around the world. And they are highly effective. But here's why this story still matters. Because Hoover Dam isn't just a structure, it's part of a massive system. The Colorado River system supports millions of people across the American Southwest. Cities like Las Vegas, Phoenix, and Los Angeles rely on it every single day. For water, for power, for agriculture. Everything is connected. That's why even minor structural concerns are treated seriously. Not because disaster is expected, but because the consequences would be enormous. So, what's the reality right now? There is no confirmed catastrophic structural failure happening at Hoover Dam. No official warnings have been issued. No evacuations have been ordered. But there is constant monitoring, ongoing maintenance, continuous reinforcement, because that's how infrastructure like this survives for generations, not by ignoring problems, but by identifying them early and solving them before they escalate. It's easy to imagine dramatic worst-case scenarios: a sudden collapse, a massive wall of water, a disaster unfolding in minutes. But real engineering doesn't work like that. It's deliberate, methodical, precise, and most of the time, completely invisible to the public. What you're seeing isn't a system failing. You're seeing a system being maintained, tested, strengthened, protected, exactly the way it was designed to be. Because Hoover Dam isn't just a relic of the past. It's a living piece of infrastructure, constantly adapting, constantly monitored, constantly maintained. And like anything built at this scale, it requires attention. So the real story here isn't fear, it's awareness. It's understanding how complex systems like this are managed and how much effort goes into keeping them safe. Because behind every dam, every bridge, every power system, there are engineers working around the clock to make sure it holds. Every hour, every day. So the next time you see Hoover Dam, remember this: what looks silent and unchanging is actually one of the most closely watched structures on Earth. And that might be the most impressive part of all. If you found this video informative, make sure to like the video and subscribe for more deep dives into real-world engineering, hidden risks, and the systems that quietly shape our world.